again. Shanley, I have to tell you that last week helped me so much. Those tips that you gave me to get through the overwhelm. I know it's not much, but actually it is a lot. And I couldn't get my drawer out to show you. I was going to show you what I did. I did go through my sock drawer and my underwear drawer, and I had so much stuff that I actually went from 2 drawers down to 1.
Yay.
And and that may not sound like much, but as you said, like what you get done is what you get done. And it did encourage me to keep trying, to keep going. And you know what I discovered is that both of those drawers were just crammed with stuff that I didn't want. I mean, so I got down to just my favorite underwear. I mean, because that's what you do, right? And I guess I don't know why I was saving all that other underwear in case of an underwear apocalypse. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to bullet paper. I don't know. But I had my favorite ones, and those were the ones on the top. And so I just got rid of all of those. Same thing with the socks. I have all these socks. Like, why do I have all these socks? So thank you. That was so beneficial just to take a step, because like I told you last week, I was just stuck with emotionally stuck. So that's what we talked about last year, was the overwhelm and how to get past the overwhelm. So this week, what's the next step? What can we do now?
Yeah. So as a recap, I'm a professional organizer and a Konmari consultant in training. So there are 5 steps with the Konmari process. And so you have step 1, which is clothes, and that's typically centered around the bedroom. And then step 2 is books. Step 3 is paper. Step 4 is kimono. And then step 5 is sentimental. And so because we kind of covered the bedroom last time, we're going to cover books and paper this time. And so I wanted to just ask a couple of questions about your process. How long did it take you to go through those drawers?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I forgot to mention that one thing that helped me was when I went in there, I started diffusing release, because I knew that I was going to need to let go of some things. And it was only 2 little drawers, but it took me about an hour. But once I realized, you don't need this, just let it go. So this release.
So you surrendered to it.
I surrendered to it.
You surrendered.
I surrendered to the process, and I went in with the idea of I need to release some of this stuff. And so also it was like, release the fear that you're not going to be able to get this done. Just release all the stuff that's not serving you, so that you can focus. I also, other times this week, not specifically that day, but I've been using my clarity.
Oh, good.
To help me stay focused on what I can do and what's going to move me forward toward my goals and what my goals are. Oh, another one I've been using is energy.
Perfect.
Because this is kind of a spicy one. I like to diffuse it because it does. It just kind of makes you feel like doing something. So
I'm using orange right now because the citrus ones are also very invigorating and fresh, and they help with the releasing of energy and also help motivate you. All citrus oils.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I've been doing motivation a lot. I've been wearing this as perfume. Oops, motivation.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and acceptance is another great one, which I don't happen to have right here, but it's sorry, there's a plane going overhead. And so, how did it feel when you were done?
I felt so accomplished. I mean, again, and I don't know why I don't mean to downgrade it, because it's a big deal. I mean, it was just 2 little drawers, but I felt like I had done something.
Absolutely. Okay, good.
I had done something instead of just going,
what do I do?
Yeah, is the world ending? I have no control. My life is going to end. I mean, it got me out of my head. That's what it did. Is it got me. You helped me move forward to do something that I could do, and you gave me permission to not beat myself up. So I thought, okay, you told me just do your sock drawer. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then when I started, I felt like, okay, I can do some more too.
And that's oftentimes what I find happens, is that people tend to be motivated to move on. So, you could start with just a timer. You could set a 15-minute timer. If you feel motivated, you could set an hour timer. But here's the thing, like the Pomodoro method, you can start with, I think it's 25 minutes and then a 5-minute break, and so you can set a timer on your phone, on your iPad, on your whatever, and then just allow yourself to stop when it's done. But if you do feel motivated, go ahead and move on to the next thing. So maybe you did the nightgown drawer next, or the t-shirt drawer next, or the shorts drawer next, whatever. Maybe you moved on to your bathroom. But that's the point, is that you often feel so successful and accomplished that you are willing and able to move on to the next one, because you've sort of allowed yourself that mental release of the obligation. And now you understand that you can accomplish something. And so that's the motivating and the reinvigorating part of doing this, from the easy to hard. So you start with clothes for a reason and move your way to sentimental, because this is the easy stuff. This is the hard stuff. Don't start here, start here. And that way you will be motivated to move through the whole process, because I promise you, through experience, going through the entire process does make change in your life.
Good. So being an English professor, I'm a little nervous when you say books and paper.
Everybody is.
Because I probably have a lot more books and paper than clothes even.
Okay, and that's fine. So here's the thing about books and paper. The reason that they're second is because they take up a lot of space in your house, right? And so you also tend to be a little bit more emotionally attached to books than you are to clothes, okay? And so the thing about the 30 book rule that Marie Kondo has is that's not actually a rule she ever made. That was somebody interpreting what she said. And so the idea here is that you're supposed to keep the amount that makes you happy. And if you're one of those people, Karen, that is kind of like, whoa, you can't be making me throw my books away, then that's because they bring you joy. So keep them. Nobody's telling you to get rid of them. If they bring you joy and they make you happy, and you use them as a reference, and you go back to them, then keep them. It's the ones that sit in your room. Like for me, it's Eat, Pray, Love. Everybody said, you got to read the book before you watch the movie. So I waited. I have that book sitting on my shelf. It's an aspirational book is what it is. It's a goal book. But, I was up late one night and the movie was on. And so I watched it, and I feel like I can pretty much check that off I need to read that book shelf, So in the next move, whenever that happens to be, or when the donation centers open up again, that'll go away into that box, because the point of books and paper, which specifically can be related to like conference materials and things like that, reference materials, is that you're supposed to think about the goal that you want to achieve with your life. And so you had said, I wanted to feel accomplished, like I could get through this. And so that was your goal, was to just do one drawer. And so the idea is that if you need to be thinking about your goal, and if your goal is to clear out one bookshelf, then that's your goal. But if your goal is to get rid of the books that aren't sparking joy anymore, that's a different kind of joy. That's a different kind of goal. And so if you think of it that way, is it fitting the lifestyle that you want to live? And so you need to think about that to start even. So your goal, your lifestyle, I'm sorry, it looks like the connection is a little slow today. But your goal and your lifestyle are the important things that you want to be thinking about when it comes to books and paper, because you want to know, well, everything actually, but specifically those, because they take up space. And people ignore them. This is the most forgotten part of the entire system, is paper specifically. And with paper, with books, first you wake them up. That's the process. You take them all down, you put the big pile again, just like you do with the clothes, and then you wake them all up by touching them and patting them and bringing energy back into them in the room. And so if you wake them up and you pick up your favorite book, for me, it's like The Secret Garden. When I was 8, I read that book probably 20 times, for the escapism factor. And it's one of those things where if you pick up another book and it makes your heart happy and you get that zing moment that she always does, zing, then keep it. But if it doesn't do that, then you should consider why you're keeping it. This is like everything else. And so a book is just another encapsulation of information. And so if you want to start thinking about the paper and the books, think about, can I get this information somewhere else? Did I already learn this information? And that's a lot of what Marie says is you should remember those things. You went to the training session, you went to the lecture, you went to the class, you read the book already. The information is there. And by the act of keeping it, you're forcing yourself to continue to think that you don't know that information where you actually really do. And so her encouragement is allow yourself the knowledge that you know that information and let the book go.
Okay. Yeah. I do know that some of the classics I have in a leather bound, and then I have a paperback of the same book because I don't want to write in my leather bound books, but I would write notes. But maybe I don't need 2 copies of all of it, maybe.
Yeah, but maybe you do. I mean, if they're your special favorite things, then maybe you do. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with keeping special favorite things. But if you have 3 copies of it and one of them is literally just sitting there not being used at all, maybe consider getting rid of the 3rd one. Maybe consider getting rid of that aspirational pile of books that probably actually makes you feel bad. This is that time where we're supposed to all be getting rid of that to-do list of things. And that pile of books that's sitting on your nightstand, excuse me, your nightstand,
just taunting you.
Yeah. Does it make you feel good to be there, for it to be there? Or is it make you feeling kind of like the pair of pants that you keep that is in 10 pounds, the aspirational pants? Or is it motivating you to read them? Or is it just making you feel bad or guilty, which is not serving your goals and your purpose? So you think about it that way. Is it serving the person that you want to become to keep that book or piece of paper?
Yeah. Well, since you say paper, and I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but I have so much paper stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that's something else?
Yeah, most people do. And so there's a reason that's sort of the middle category is paper. And that's because it's hard. Number one, it's just hard. It's the part that takes the longest. It is the one that is going to require the most mental effort on your part besides sentimental, but you'll have built up to that by the time you get to sentimental. And that's because, think about it, this book right here, it has all of these different pieces of paper in it, where in reality, this amount of space would be taken up by one piece of clothing. This is now, 240 pieces of paper, each one that I have to individually think about if it was in a file folder or if it was a stack on your desk. You can't just pick up the whole thing and toss it unless you actually know what it is, just like you could with a shirt or a dress. You could just pick up the whole thing and move it along. But with that much paper, you have to make a decision about each and every single piece of paper. And that is so mentally taxing. And so for that reason, books and paper are the sections that we typically spend the most time on, because there's just so many of them. And so this is a perfect example of setting a timer, okay? And so set that. So I would not encourage anybody who's starting out with this with an hour long or books. I would encourage you to do 15 or 20-minute sessions on this. And again, if you feel motivated to continue, please do. But stand up, walk around, take a break. This is a huge section for having water or a beverage or your favorite candle or your favorite scent, whatever it is. Yeah, remember to drink. And so I'm constantly reminding my clients to drink some water, take a break. Let's remember your goal. Let's remember your focus, because this is so mentally taxing, and it's not decisions I can make. You have to make all the decisions. So go in smaller increments, break up your chunks, and maybe just pull out one file folder today and deal with that. And if you felt good when you finished that, then pull out another one and deal with that. I'm going to recommend that you start with all those manuals, because everybody keeps all the manuals, right? When's the last time you went in and looked at your Cuisinart manual? Never, right? So if you're going to look at your manual, you go online and look it up anyway. So if you can access all that information online, I encourage you to release the manual and thank it and let it go, be recycled. Oftentimes you have warranties that are expired. You have those little postcards that you're supposed to mail in. You have products that you don't even own anymore, right? Like things you literally legit don't even own anymore. Stove from the house you lived in 3 houses ago. Those are the easy things.
Have you
Start
been
with the easy things. Yeah, I might have been to your house. Yeah.
Oh,
I've been to your house like everybody else's house. Everybody's
Oh.
got a manuals folder. So start there. That's the easy part. And then you feel accomplished because my manuals folder was this big the last time I moved. And that was just the kitchen section. We're not talking the outside section or the appliances section. I mean, come on, we had like this many manuals, and I'm a professional organizer. I do this for a living. But the nice thing is when we did sort through them, we were able to leave this many manuals for the homeowner because we don't own that stove. They do now. So it's just the little things that are sometimes easiest and help keep you motivated and help keep you moving forward with your goal, your focus in mind of your future, of what you want it to look like.
Well, that's good. What I want my future to look like. That's because, well, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but there were times when I had so much crap on my table of like, I mean, like maybe I was making a little purple bag, like these little brochures and mail and magazines and just stuff that I just grabbed like a recyclable or like a Walmart bag, you know, that you take, like a cloth bag. And I just shoved it all in the bag. I just shoved it in the bag and I put it in the spare bedroom. So in this spare bedroom, I made reference to piles of stuff. It's just stuff that I've just crammed into. Please tell me other people have done that.
Everyone. I do that. Everyone does that. And so that's
I couldn't deal. So I was like, I got to clear off this table. So I just crammed it all in a bag, threw it
you
like
can't,
this. It's still here.
You have company coming over. You just can't deal with it anymore. You need to do something different on that table. There's all sorts of different reasons to get rid of a table full of stuff. And it's not stuff that you necessarily want to get rid of. Otherwise, you would have. You just sweep it into the recycling bin. Yeah, so, you need it. You need it. And so, but you do need to go back to it and deal with it is the thing. And so that maybe Karen, what you do is you pick up one bag and you go back to the table and you sort through it and you figure out if you do actually want to keep those, because sometimes it's like knitting, how many skeins of yarn do you have with the needles and all those different things, but when's the last time you actually knitted anything? So are you being aspirational again? And so is that bag full of your knitting stuff sitting in the back of the closet something you want to keep? Or do you want to thank it for the time that you spent with it, the happiness it brought you while you were using it and knitting before, but it's not part of who you want to be in the future, and then you can let it go. Find a knitting club and donate it to them. Find a craft store and give it back. Find something like, in Tucson, we have Treasures for Teachers, and that's an organization that collects pretty much anything that a teacher would use, and then teachers pay an annual membership, and then they go through and pick through all the different bins. And I mean, they collect everything. Imagine anything a teacher would use: paper, electronics, because they do STEM projects with them, bottle caps, just buttons, anything pretty much, any of that yarn or fabric or plastics or pens or pencils or name badges or all those things that sort of sit there and you're like, well, I don't really want to throw this away because I could use it again or somebody could use it. Go find a place, go donate it to a local school. I mean, there's lots and lots of different places that are accepting things like that. Homeless shelters where they need to be able to do crafts while they're sitting there bored doing nothing. So reach out to places and you can find new homes for all those things that are sitting there and kind of weighing you down and making you think, well, I want to be a knitter someday. Well, here's the thing. If you do someday want to do that, go reinvest in that goal and that hobby when you have the time, and don't let it be an emotional weight that's sitting there reminding you that you're not doing it.
That's really good advice.
One bag at a time.
One bag at a time. Okay. So that's my job for now. Oh my gosh, we've already been talking for 21 minutes. I can't believe 20 minutes almost.
Do we have any comments that we need to address today? We forgot last time.
I'm looking over here and I don't. Let's see, host chat. No,
none today.
I don't see it. I'm just wondering if this app is working, because I'm sure that somebody is making some sort of comments. Because when we stopped last time, I think there were a few.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and for some reason I'm not seeing your comments pop up in this Be Live TV, just we will go back and answer any questions that you have. So please leave us your questions. Specifically, Shanley's the expert. I can recommend some oils to. Oh, I'm doing Build Your Dream right now, and I love this because you're helping me focus on. Those are yummy.
Do that in your water so that you can keep your energy up. We have those two new vitality drops. This one is lavender lemon, and this one's the grapefruit.
I love the grapefruit bergamot.
I love them so much. But it keeps your electrolytes up while you're working, and so that way you can keep your energy up. And it's also essential oils, which are good for your system anyway. You can speak more to that.
Yeah, really. But I mean, they really do help motivate me, help me keep my mood up and keep moving forward, help me deal with just the stress. So this has been really helpful for me. So I'm excited. I'm going to pick up some of these bags and start going through that. I'm going to take a good hard look at the books that I have and books and paper.
Okay, great. That's your homework for this week is books and paper, and just start one bag or one shelf or one book or one file folder at a time.
Or maybe my desk.
Or maybe not. I will say that my desk is that space. Like it's just in perpetual motion. I'll go walk around and I'll clean up all the other areas, but my desk is sort of an active working file. And that's the other thing when you're sorting through your paper, you want to sort them into 3 different piles. You want to have pending, frequently accessed, and infrequently accessed. And so your pending pile is going to be things like your bills, invitations that you need to respond to, or put on your calendar, things that are current and active that you need to just take care of soon. Infrequently accessed is going to be things like 3 to 12 months to get through that. So if you have like a wedding invitation that you want to put in that folder, if you have insurance paperwork or something you need to fill out but not yet, if you have anything that's 3 to 12 months. And then infrequently used is going to be your things like your manuals that you are holding on to, paperwork that bills, all of your home documentation for your house,
insurance
policies, exactly. All of those
folder somewhere.
I'm sorry.
I should have them in the folder, but they're probably just crammed on my desk. I'm like, oh, there they are.
Exactly. So then start those 3 piles. And then that way it will be easier for you to sort through all of the stuff and like things like your recycling, your junk mail. Just don't bring it into the house. Take all of your mail, walk directly to your recycling bin outside, throw it all right in, and bring only the mail that is part of your active, frequently accessed or infrequently accessed sections, and then deal with it. And so part of the encouragement is to deal with those action items right away. So don't just put the bill down on the table. Pay it or set it up with auto pay. And that's part of the reason that you're getting that bill is because you haven't set it up on auto pay yet. And so that's another way to help reduce that stress load of paper coming into your house is auto pay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Shanley. And
love
you guys
you.
have questions. I love you. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.